Here are some examples of potential questions you might see on the quiz that you're going to make a video for. So first question, negative 9x plus 72 over x cubed minus 12x squared plus 36x. All right, so you're going to get points just by factoring the denominator. That should be your first step. So I'm going to factor out a GCF of x, and then I'm left with x squared minus 12x plus 36. Next, I can factor that trinomial that remains. So it'll factor into x minus 6 and x minus 6. Don't forget about your GCF. Notice the x minus 6 is a repeated factor. Remember, when you have a repeated factor, you need to include in your denominator, it's like a count up. So my denominator is going to include the x minus 6 by itself, and then the x minus 6 squared. So when a factor repeats, you need to include the single and then the double. Or if it was to the third, you would have the single, the double, and the triple. Now I'm going to add the variables to the top. So again, you're going to gain points by just showing me the factor denominator. Then you're going to get points by showing the setup of the fractions. Next thing we need to do is fill in what each denominator is missing. Like if I were to be, let's say I'm finding a common denominator here. So my first fraction is missing the x minus 6 squared. The second fraction is missing the x and one of the x minus 6's. And then the last fraction is just missing the x. So now I'm going to set up the equation that I'm going to be solving, and you're going to get points for the setup. So again, once we've figured out what each one is missing, we no longer need the denominator. So then now I'm going to set up negative 9x plus 72 equals a times x minus 6 squared plus b x times x minus 6 plus cx. Now, what I found with my A period, they found it easier if I distribute and then set the x squareds in one equation, the x's, and then just the constants. That's how I'm going to go ahead and solve this one. Now, remember, you could also solve it by trying to zero out one variable at a time. But I'm going to go ahead and just distribute. Now, remember, for the a variable here, I can't just distribute the a to the x and to the 6. I need to square this binomial first. So I could put it back as the x squared, which was right here. X squared minus 12x plus 36. And then now I can distribute the a. Now again, I could also solve this by plugging in a 0 and a 6 to start eliminate one variable at a time. You can do it that way as well. So at this point, to solve for a, b, and c, there's different ways, but I'm going to show you by distributing. This seems to have helped a period better. So I'm going to distribute, and I get 12ax plus 36a. And then I need to distribute the bx, and this becomes bx squared minus 6bx plus cx. All right, so now I'm going to make 3 different equations. I'm going to make one for the squares, for the x's, and one for the constants. And this is a c at the end. Okay, now notice over here on the left side, there's no x squared term. So when I go to do my x squareds, I'll just do a 0x squared here. And then I've got the ax squared and the bx squared. So I can go ahead and 0x squared equals ax plus bx squared. Then I can go and get all my x's. So I have negative 9x equals negative 12ax. And then I have a negative 6bx, and a cx. And then now lastly, I'm going to go and get all my constants. I have a 72 and then just a 36a. All right, so now what I can do is get rid of the x's. So what I can do here is divide all three of these by an x squared. So now I'm just left with 0 equals a plus b. The red one, get rid of all the x's. And then I'm left with negative 9, negative 12a, minus 6b plus c. The blue one, I can actually solve for a by dividing both sides by 36. So 2 equals a. Now what I need to do is go back and find b and c. I'm going to plug my a value in to either the black one or the blue one. Obviously, it's got to go back to the black one because I still would have two unknowns if I just plug it into the red. So I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to go back and plug it in over here. So I'm going to get 0 equals 2 plus b minus the 2, and my b value is now negative 2. So far I have found two of my variables. I now need to find c, and I can plug both a and b into the middle red one. So negative 9 equals negative 12 times 2 minus 6 times negative 2. And then I don't know c yet. That's what I'm solving for. So I'll go ahead and multiply here. Negative 9, negative 24, positive 12, plus c. And then combine these two, becomes a negative 12. Move the 12, and c equals 3. I now can take the value of my three variables. So you're going to get points for solving and getting the correct three values of each of your variables. And then now you take those three, and we're going to plug it back in to the beginning and set up our partial fractions. So I'm going to put a over x. So 2 over x. My b is negative 2. Now, instead of putting negative and a plus sign, I'm just going to turn, because it's negative, make it a subtraction. And then lastly, the c, which is 3 over, did I write the wrong number? No, that's right. Minus 6 squared. And I'm done. So every step of the process, you'll get points, and it'll be explained in the description. So points for factoring the denominator, points for setting up the initial fraction, points for setting up the equation you're going to solve, points for getting the correct variables, and then final points for the final answer. Again, in your audio explanation, you need to tell me everything that I just did here. No skipping any steps. All right, let's try another example, just to make sure we're clear on the process here. Let me add another page. All right, so the next one I'm going to do is going to be 7x squared plus 15x plus 12 over x cubed plus 4x squared plus 4x. Step number 1, I need to factor the denominator. I'm going to factor out a GCF of x first, and then I'm left with x squared plus 4x plus 4, and then I can factor this into x plus 2 and x plus 2. Notice the x plus 2 is a repeated factor. I need to include in my denominator an x plus 2 squared as well as just an x plus 2 and the x. So now the setup of the fractions, there'll be a over x plus b over x plus 2 plus c over x plus 2 squared. I now need to go back and look to see what each fraction is missing if I were to have found the common denominator. So the first fraction is missing the x plus 2 squared. The next one is missing an x and an x plus 2. And then the last one is only missing an x. I'm now going to get rid of the denominator, and now I'm only working with the numerator. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here, and the equation I'm using to solve is 7x squared plus 15x plus 12 equals a times x plus 2 squared plus bx times x plus 2 plus cx. Again, I'm going to go ahead and just distribute. It seems to be the easiest way when it's a repeated factor. Remember, I can't just distribute the a. I have to FOIL this binomial first. And again, it turns back in to this one. So it's going to be x squared plus 4x plus 4. This is what I'm going to distribute the a to. 7x squared plus 15x plus 12 equals ax squared plus 4ax plus 4a. Now I need to distribute the bx. Bx squared plus 2bx plus cx. And now I make my three equations. One with all the x squareds in it, one with the x's, and then one with the constants. So again, get all the x squareds. So I'm going to get 7x squared equals ax squared plus bx squared. Then I can get my x's. And I get 15x equals 4ax plus 2bx plus cx. And then lastly, get my constant, which is just going to be 12 equals 4a. Now, in the red and the blue, I can get rid of the x's. So the red, I'm going to get rid of the x squareds. So I'm just left with 7 equals a plus b. The blue, I can get rid of all the x's. So 15 equals 4a plus 2b plus c. And then the black, I can actually solve for a by dividing by 4. So 3 equals a. Now I need to find b and c. So now I'm going to go and look and see, do I want to plug it into red or blue? It's going to be better to plug it into red first, and then I plug the 2 that I get into the blue. So I'm going to go back and take out the a, put a 3 here, and now solve for b. I can subtract the 3, and b equals 4. Now I'm going to take a and b and plug it in to the blue to get c. So 15 equals 4 times 3, sorry. Plugging in a times 4 plus c. I'm going to multiply 12 plus 8 plus c. I can add 12 plus 8 and get 20. And now I'll subtract 20. And negative 5 equals c. So again, points for this part, where now that I have my 3 values for each of these numerators, or these constants, and now I'm going to plug it back in. So the a goes on top of the x, so 3 over x. The b goes on top of the x plus 2. And then the c, it's a negative 5, so I'll put it in as a subtraction over the x plus 2 squared. And that's how you can do your problems. So again, I will not give you a problem on the quiz where you're going to have to do long division before you start your process. It will be a repeated factor question. Again, it's going to pull from a kind of a large bank of questions. So the chances of you getting the same question as your friend might not happen. Again, the practice quiz that shows that it's due today at 2:30 is optional. It's just there for you to practice making a video and uploading it to Canvas. I'm not going to be looking at any of your practice submissions. It's just there for you to practice with. This quiz is due Monday morning at 8. I don't want to hear any excuses. Find whatever app you want to use to make your video. And again, remember, it must include audio. Any questions?